Hello again, Ms. Julie here with another story from the Public Library. The Big Orange Splot by Daniel Pinkwater, published by Scholastic Inc. Mr. Plumbean lived on a street where all the houses were the same. He liked it that way. So did everyone else on Mr. Plumbean's street. This is a neat street, they would say. Then one day, a seagull flew over Mr. Plumbean's house. He was carrying a can of bright orange paint. No one knows why. And he dropped the can, no one knows why, right over Mr. Plumbean's house. It made a big orange splot on Mr. Plumbean's house. "Oh, too bad," everyone said. "Mr. Plumbean will have to paint his house again." "I suppose I will," said Mr. Plumbean. But he didn't paint his house right away. He looked at the orange splot for a long time, and he thought about it. The neighbors got tired of seeing the big orange splot, and someone said, "Mr. Plumbean, we wish you'd get around to painting your house." "Okay," said Mr. Plumbean. He got some paintbrushes and a ladder and a hammer and nails and wood and paint of all different colors. He didn't want to paint under the hot sun, so he waited till evening, and then he set to work. In the morning, the other people on the street came out of their houses. Their houses were all the same, but Mr. Plumbean's house was like a rainbow. It was like a jungle. It was like an explosion. There was the big orange splot, and there were all these little orange spots, and there were stripes, and there was a picture of an elephant and a lion and a mermaid and a steam shovel. There was even a clock tower that went tick-tock, and dong, dong on the hour. The people said, "Mr. Plumbean has popped his cork, flipped his wig. He's gone round the bend." And they went away muttering and shaking their heads. They decided to pretend not to notice. The next evening, Mr. Plumbean got a truck full of green things. He planted palm trees and strung up a hammock between them. He put in a pond and brought an alligator to live in it. When the other people came out of their houses, they saw pretty plants and pond and alligator lying in the grass. They saw Mr. Plumbean swinging on a hammock between two palm trees, drinking lemonade. "Mr. Plumbean has gone too far," cried his neighbors. "This used to be a neat street. Mr. Plumbean, what have you done to your house?" "My house is like me, and I like my house. It looks like all my dreams," explained Mr. Plumbean. The people went away grumbling. They asked the man who lived next door to Mr. Plumbean to go and have a talk with him. "Tell him that we liked it here before he changed his house. Tell him that his house has to be the same as ours so we can have a neat street." So the man went to visit Mr. Plumbean, and they sat together in the cool of the evening under the palm trees, drinking lemonade and talking. After talking to Mr. Plumbean, the man went out to get lumber and rope and nails and paint, and then he set to work on his house. The next day, when the people came out of their houses, they saw next door to Mr. Plumbean's house a house that looked like a sailing ship with portholes and big white sails and even an anchor. "What have you done to your house?" they shouted at the man. "My house is like me, and I like my house. It looks like all my dreams," explained Mr. Plumbean's neighbor, who had always loved sailing ships. "He's just like Plumbean," the people said. "He's got bats in his belfry, gnats in his noodle. He's not playing with the full deck." So they decided to send the neighbor from the other side to talk to Mr. Plumbean. So the neighbor from the other side went to visit Mr. Plumbean, and in the cool of the evening they sat together and drank lemonade and talked. After talking to Mr. Plumbean, the neighbor from the other side, who had always loved flying, bought ropes and tassels and nylon and wood and set to work on her house, and the next day, this is what it looked like. Well, the neighbors were dumbfounded. "What have you done to your house?" they cried. "Have you gone berserk? Gone to la-la land? Got a feathered brain?" Calmly, the neighbor from the other side explained. "My house is like me, and I like my house. It looks like all my dreams." So one by one, the other neighbors went to visit Mr. Plumbean, and in the cool of the evening, they would sit under the palm trees, drink lemonade, and talk about their dreams. Whenever anyone visited Mr. Plumbean, the next day, they would set about changing their house. One couple had always loved castles. They put in a moat and a drawbridge and turrets. One fellow loved ancient Greece. He put up columns and statues and a fountain. One woman on the end liked the Taj Mahal with onion towers and pointy windows and little balconies. Whenever a stranger came to the street of Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors, the stranger would say, "This is not a neat street." Then all the people would explain, "Our street is like us, and we like our street. It looks like all our dreams." Then they would invite the stranger to sit down with them in the cool of the evening and drink lemonade and talk about their dreams. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you come back for more crafts and stories from the public library.